Hi Maker, I'm Angel of FleeceFun.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make this long hooded cloak. Now this cloak is a classic. It works for all kinds of genres throughout all ages. It works for almost anything. Like say you need to take the ring to Mordor. This cape would work. You need to rule your own fairy kingdom. This cape would work. You need to find the legendary Dragonlance. This cape would work. Or if you need to wander around an English moor questioning your life choices that you made while in the employment of Mr. Rochester, this cape will work. For this project, you will need the following. You will need 3 3/4 yards of fleece or jersey knit for the exterior. Please know that the fabric needs to be 60 inches wide. 3/4 of a yard of fleece or jersey knit for the hood lining. 1 yard of leather cording, or you could also use ribbon or a clasp or a button. And sewing essentials, scissors, pins, thread, that sort of thing. Fleece Fun's free sewing pattern available on fleecefun.com. All right, now that you have all those things, it's time to get started. Now this pattern is a little different. I've messed with it a little bit and taken some creative license, so you don't have to assemble a massive pattern. I've actually halved the pattern size by doing this, but you do need to pay attention to what I do here. Long hooded cloak pattern tutorial, step 1, assemble the free pattern. Gather your materials. You will need to assemble this pattern, and it is a long pattern. For instructions on how to assemble the pattern, please see the channel. All right, so cutting out the pattern, like I mentioned before, you need to pay attention because we're going to use this pattern for the front and the back of the cloak. I'm going to show you how. Step 2, cut out the pieces to the cape. To save yourself from endless pattern assembly, the long hooded cloak pattern piece doubles as the front and back pieces. However, this means you will need to do a couple of different things when you cut out the pattern. Each long hooded cloak pattern piece is actually 2 pattern pieces. You will cut down the pieces to make the next pattern piece. This is also true for the hood of the cloak. You will cut out the exterior of the hood, cut down the pattern piece, and then cut out the interior. Cape section. Cut the pattern to length that you want. There are 2, I'm 5'4", and the shorter length works for me. Cut one of the back pattern piece. Place the pattern piece with the blue line on the fold. There will be a lip of paper about 1/2 inch that overhangs over the edge of the fabric. This will make one large back piece. Now, cut the pattern piece to become the front piece. Cut on the red lines on the neck and at the bottom of the cape. It curves up to help prevent tripping. Then place on doubled fabric, making sure the entire pattern piece is on the fabric. No paper lip hanging over. Cut out the pattern, making 2 pieces for the front. Note, to conserve on fabric, you can turn the paper around. This might not work if you are using patterned or directional fabric. All right, now that we've cut out the cloak part, it's time to cut out the hood part. And again, same kind of thing, we're going to cut down the pattern to use it for 2 different pattern pieces. Step 3, cut out the hood to the cloak. Hey, could you do me a favor and hit that like button? That little like goes a long way to helping out my channel. On doubled fabric, cut 2 of the hood exterior. Set them aside. Then cut down the pattern piece on the red or pink line. Then on doubled fabric, cut 2 of the hood lining. Set them aside. Okay, looks good. Now that we have all those pieces cut out, it's time to start sewing. Step 4, make the body of the cape. Now this cape, while it's big, the seams at least are very simple. Assembling the body part of the cape is simple. Lay the back side of the cape with right side facing up on your work surface. Next, lay the front pieces right side down on the back of the cape, lining up the shoulders. With right sides together, sew the right side of the cape to the back of the cape using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Sew from the collar to the hem. Repeat this same process on the right side of the cape. Set the bottom portion of the cape aside. All right, let's start work on the hood. Step 5, sew the exterior to the hood lining. With the right sides together, sew the 2 exterior pieces using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now with right sides together, sew the two interior or lining pieces using a 1/2-inch seam allowance. Clip the curves to help the hood lay properly. The hood is lined. I'm going to show you how. Turn the lining right side out. Slide it into the exterior hood so right sides are touching. Pin the front exterior to the front of the lining right sides together, along the edge. The lining will not reach the back of the hood. That will come later. Sew together using a 1/2-inch seam allowance. Once it's sewn, it's time to turn it right side out. Turn right side out and tuck the lining back into the hood, making a nice rim of exterior fabric on the interior of the hood. Pin in place. Optional. Stitch in the ditch where the lining meets the exterior to hold the hood in place around the front of the hood. Looks great. Now let's attach the hood to the cape. Step 6. Add the hood to the cloak. Lay the cape body out on your work surface, right sides together. Center the hood on the cape, pin into place. Sew the hood onto the cape using a 1/2-inch seam allowance. Note, you're sewing through a lot of layers, so be sure to lengthen your stitch and go slow. Just so you know, the front of the cape should extend a little on either side of the hood. Turn under and then top stitch a 1/4 inch from the seam at the bottom of the hood to help the seam lay better. Now that the hood is on and the cape is all sewn, it's time to just add some ties. Step 7. Finish off the cape. You can leave the fleece edges raw if you desire, but finishing them off can give the cape a nice look. Turn under the edges of the cape 1/2 inch and sew down. You can either zigzag along the edge or a straight stitch near the edge. Now, you do have the option of sewing down the edges, turning them under 1 inch and sewing them down using a zigzag stitch. I chose not to. You do have that option with fleece, or you can finish it nicely, totally up to you. But since fleece doesn't unravel, you can save yourself a step. Sew on the leather ties to either side. You can also use ribbon, button, or a clasp. Now there are many different ways you can finish it. You can use a tie, like I did. You could use a button. There are different ways that you can do it, or a clasp. Totally up to you. You get to design that part. And that's it, you're finished. And you're finished. You have this great, beautiful, long cape. It's very dramatic. It flows in the wind. It looks great. And it's one of those classic pieces you can keep in your costume box and pull it out year after year for different costumes. Now, one more thing I want you to be aware of, and this is kind of an open secret on Fleece Fun, is that my capes, all the hoods are interchangeable. So let's say, for example, you're not loving the hood on this cape. Well, maybe you like the hood on the Red Riding Cape more. Switch it out. Or maybe you want something with like a pixie hood on it. I have one of those on one of my capes. You can switch it out too. You can mix and match the hoods on the capes. Pretty cool, right? It's almost like I planned it that way. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more awesome videos just like this one. I have several more cape patterns on fleecefun.com that I think you'll enjoy. You'll be able to find there's a little something for everything. There's the classic Red Riding Hood cape. It's a classic half circle cape. Looks really great on, has a great hood on it. I also have a high-low cape if you're looking for something just a little more different and dramatic. Go check them out, they're all there.